Welcome back to the Independent Republican, Mike Graham, right here on Talk TV. John Rentoul is here with us. We've just been talking about the honours list there. Labour are now apparently planning to flood the House of Lords with peers, which doesn't sound very Keir Starmer-like. Has he had another idea that we didn't know he had before?
Well, he's ditched another promise, which is to abolish the House of Lords and replace it with an elected second chamber. Stupid idea, because it would just tie up the Labour government in legislative knots, because, I mean, that is incredibly difficult.
Right.
And
so why does he say these things?
So
he's just to sort of curry favour with the rank and file or something?
I suppose so, and also it doesn't cost any money, and it allows Gordon Brown to spend a lot of time compiling some big report on the future of democracy.
Yes.
Which Keir Starmer can now ignore. But I mean, obviously, it's a sensible thing, you know, for a new Labour government to pile in a load of new peers so that they can try and get some of their business through. I mean, they can't create a majority in the House of Lords. That would be too much.
But the problem with the House of Lords is it's got too many Lib Dems in it, isn't it?
Well, there's far too many Lib Dems and crossbenchers and independents and all that.
I mean, it hasn't got too many Tories in it, has it?
It's got a lot because the Conservatives have been in government for
it's basically got too many people, period, hasn't it?
Well, yes, of course.
I mean, should they not? I mean, it
shouldn't be there.
But would it not make more sense if Keir Starmer actually said, I'll tell you what we're going to suggest, is we're going to suggest a freeze on sending people to the House of Lords.
Yeah, but he can do a freeze after he's packed it with some Labour people first.
Right. So is he going to put Gordon Brown in there?
I don't think
I presume if he's talking to Tony Blair's saying, whatever you do, don't give Gordon Brown a peerage. You know, we still don't talk to each other.
I don't think
they still don't talk to each other, do they?
Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, yes, they do. But I mean, it's
only under specific circumstances.
It's quite formal.
Yeah.
But none of those new Labour people want peerages. You know, Alistair Campbell, Alan Milburn, Tony Blair.
Well, Alistair Campbell shouldn't get one.
Well, of course he should.
Why?
Because he's a very talented politician.
No, he's not. But, he's a ghastly individual who turns on people in a horrible way, who bullies people and has always bullied people, and is, frankly speaking, a man who should have to answer for what he did during the Iraq War.
Yeah, which was to sex up a document. Tell the truth at all times.
To sex up a document.
We've had this argument before.
Yeah, no, but it's not an argument.
You're not right.
No, it's not an argument. It's the situation which is the real world in which you don't live because you love Tony Blair so much and you think everybody associated with him should be given some kind of honour.
I think Alistair Campbell is an extremely talented individual.
No, I think he's extremely flawed.
Should have been an MP.
No, he's an extremely flawed individual. If he wants to stand for election, then let him do it. But what he shouldn't do is grandstand, which is what he does do, bully people on television, which you know he used to do when he was in Number 10.
No,
because I know he used to do it because I've heard him doing it.
No.
Because I've heard him ringing people up and I've heard him saying things to them that were quite frankly absolutely unforgivable. As a public civil servant.
I have no...
Well, I can give you absolute chapter and verse on that. And I can name you several people who have been in receipt of those calls.
He stood up to Adam Bolton on television once.
He did once do that.
Most entertaining.
But that was after he was out of Downing Street. When he was in Downing Street, he used to phone up the BBC on a regular basis and berate them for not leading with stories that he'd given them.
You mean he did his job?
No, that's not his job to bully people. Not his job to bully people. He rang several people that I personally know on newspapers and threatened to get them sacked if they didn't do what he said, particularly over Lord Mandelson and a particular story in Japan, and I know that for a fact.
Well, I don't.
Well, I'm telling you it's true.
Well,
so you can impugn me and my veracity if you wish, but you'd be wrong to do so. And I think to defend Alistair Campbell doesn't do you any favours, seriously.
Well, I'm sorry, I'm going to defend him.
All right, well, I hope he doesn't end up in the House of Lords, because I might have to start publishing some of the stuff I know about him.
Right, OK, well, he's not going to the House of Lords because he doesn't want to, so...
Well, that's good. Excellent. He can carry on writing for the European and making a nuisance of himself elsewhere. Anyway, so what's expected today at PMQs? What's the line from the Labour Party?
I assume Keir Starmer won't bore on about Boris Johnson and will ask serious questions about the economy because that's the government's weak spot. The problem that Keir Starmer has with that is that I don't think a Labour government would be doing anything different.
Well, yeah, let's
Jeremy
say
Hunt.
Yeah, exactly. Let's say that Keir Starmer was in charge and Rachel Reeves was his Chancellor.
Yeah.
What would they be telling the Bank of England? They couldn't tell them anything because they're independent, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They'd be doing. I mean, what they ought to be saying is, congratulations, Rishi and Jeremy, for doing the right thing in the national interest. And we wish you all the best and hope that it produces the results in good time.
Yeah.
But he won't say that.
No, because I mean it's a bit unfair, I suppose, to blame the rise in interest rates on Rishi Sunak because
it's not. Rishi Sunak's trying to clear up the mess left by Liz Truss.
Yeah, but the Liz Truss mess was really overblown. I mean, she was literally there for a couple of minutes, and you know, the idea that she somehow wrecked the economy
literally there for 7 weeks.
in those minutes is ridiculous.
Well, she did a bit of damage, but
not really. So I mean, there's been more losses on the gilt front, on the interest rates front since she left than while she was there.
The fundamental problems of the economy go far deeper than that.
Yeah.
But they are primarily because we spent so much money during the coronavirus.
Many of them are down to lockdown, aren't they?
And on energy price support.
Most of the reason for the sluggish economy is lockdown.
Well,
simple.
Well, I'm not a qualified economist, so I don't know about most, but I think that is a very significant factor.
Yes.
And it is obvious that if you borrow £400 billion that you haven't got, that's going to have consequences for some time to come.
Even now, I was listening to Mel Stride the other day on the Today programme talking about how much money the government is still giving out to people to take care of them because they haven't got enough money. And one of the payments that's going out is a payment of something like £900 to 8 million people.
Yes.
And you kind of go, sorry, where are you getting that from?
These are astonishing amounts,
and incredible amounts of money.
But people don't. An awful lot of people don't even notice it because it comes straight off their energy bills.
Yeah, but I mean,
people on benefits.
It's the fact that it's about £7 billion, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's still huge amounts. I mean, energy prices are coming down now, so it's diminishing, but it is still a very significant.
But I mean, what's Labour Party policy on that? Would they be also helping people out if they said they couldn't afford things? I mean, we're now getting the ludicrous situation where people are saying, "Oh, I can't afford to pay my mortgage. What's the government going to do about it?" Yeah. Well, nothing actually, and neither should they do anything about it because you bought a house, and if you're going to lose the house because you bought a house you can't any longer afford, then sell it.
Well, if it was leader of the opposition's questions, then Rishi Sunak could ask Keir Starmer precisely that,
yeah.
And I think Keir Starmer would struggle to reply because I mean it's the Liberal Democrats have called for a mortgage.
Well, nobody cares what they think.
Well, except it's clever politics because they're trying to fight the Tories in a lot of southern seats where people do have big
but the trouble is when people think that's a good idea, they only think that until you explain to them that basically what's going to happen is that you, who do not have a house, is going to pay the mortgage of somebody who does have a house because you're a taxpayer and they apparently have overstretched themselves, so you're going to help them out.
Absolutely. So
which is the politics of the asylum.
On this occasion, I don't think Keir Starmer is going to copy the Lib Dems. I mean, he copied them on the energy price freeze, and he copied them on the windfall tax, but he's not going to copy them on mortgage relief.
No. And what about this energy business that he wants to set up in Scotland? I mean, he hasn't mentioned, for example, because nobody's been smart enough to ask him, who would he put in charge of this energy company? Jeremy Corbyn? I mean, who's going to be in charge of the People's Energy Company?
He'll get some great and good.
Yeah, some bozo
presumably from the energy industry.
Yeah, who's already killed off most of the people of this country.
It's a terrible idea.
It really is.
To set up a new company. I mean, all it is for is to allow Keir Starmer to say in speeches that we will have a publicly owned energy company, and people think publicly owned. Oh, that's marvellous.
Yeah.
That's what we want. We want public ownership.
Well, idiots think that. Nobody with a brain actually thinks that's a good idea.
But it's nonsense, and I mean, on its own, it doesn't make any difference to anything.
No, absolutely right. And I think that's a pretty good summation of Keir Starmer. On his own, he doesn't make any difference to anything. It's as simple as that. John Rentoul, brilliant as ever. Thank you very much indeed. We will be back, of course, with Prime Minister's questions later on today, and we'll also be talking to other political types about what is going on out there. Coming up next, though, we're going to be finding out what the latest insurance scam is, and it's basically people on mopeds driving into your car and then threatening to sue you so that they could get some money. It's extraordinary. This is Talk TV.